The storyteller welcomes you to another nightmare. Plug in your earphones, close your eyes, and let us begin.
Have you ever heard something banging from inside a locked room? I mean, really think about that. A door you locked, a room you haven't entered in months, and yet something inside is begging to get out. That happened to me, and what I found when I opened that door still keeps me awake at night. I haven't told anyone, not the full story, not until now. I retired in 2015, moved to a quiet stretch of land in New Mexico. Just me, a few acres, and silence. I'd worked 40 years in finance. All I wanted was peace. The house I bought was old but sturdy. 3 bedrooms. One was mine, one for storage, and the third, well, I never used the third. It gave me a weird feeling from the start. Cold. Still. Like it didn't want to be disturbed. So I kept it locked. Always. I figured I was just getting in my own head. Living alone after a lifetime of noise, your mind plays tricks. But the feeling didn't go away. It was January 2016. I remember the exact date. January 14th. I woke up at 3:17 a.m. Not sure why, just snapped awake. The room was dark. My heater had turned off, so it was freezing. And then I heard it. Banging sound. A low thump. Then again. And again. It was coming from inside the guest room. I sat up in bed. My heart was already pounding. At first, I thought maybe an animal got in. Maybe something knocked over a shelf. But I knew that door was locked. I'd locked it. I always did. So what the hell was making that noise? I got up, grabbed my flashlight, and walked down the hall. The banging got louder, and it wasn't random anymore. It was rhythmic, like someone was pounding with both fists. Boom, boom, boom. I stood outside the door, my hand on the knob, still locked, still cold. Then suddenly, it stopped. Just silence, like it knew I was there. I whispered, "Hello." Nothing. Not a creak. Not a shuffle. Not even breathing. I stood there for what felt like hours. Then I backed away. Didn't open the door. Didn't sleep the rest of the night. Morning came. Bright sunlight cut through the house like a knife. I made coffee with shaking hands. I told myself it was a dream. Sleepwalking. The heater pipes. Anything. But I still went to check the room. I unlocked the door. And immediately, I knew something was wrong. The smell hit first. Metallic. Like rust or blood. And the room, it was wrecked. Completely destroyed. The bed was flipped. The dresser drawers torn out and smashed. The lamp was shattered. And on the far wall, claw marks. For long, deep scratches that cut through plaster and paint. And in the center of the room, a wooden chair, overturned, facing the closet, like someone had been watching the closet until something came out. I felt sick. Called the sheriff's office. They sent a deputy. He looked around, asked if I'd had visitors, a break-in, wild animals. But there were no signs of forced entry. No footprints. No fingerprints. No broken locks. Nothing. He looked at me like I was crazy. Wrote it up as possible animal intrusion. Told me to install cameras. Then he left. That night I didn't sleep. I sat in my living room with every light on. I didn't even go down the hall. Didn't dare look at that door. But around 2:30 a.m., the lights flickered, just for a second. And then I heard it. Not banging. Something worse. Whispering. Coming from the hallway. Soft. Fast. in a language I didn't recognize, like chanting. I stood frozen, staring at the hallway, and then the whispering stopped. Dead silence. Then, thump, a single heavy footstep, right outside my bedroom door. But I was in the living room. I turned slowly. Nothing there. No shadow. No breath. But the air felt like it was pressing in on my chest. Like the room was shrinking. Then, I heard the closet door in the guest room creak open. That's when I knew. Whatever was in there, it hadn't just come in. It had been there. The next day, I packed a bag. I told myself I'd leave, get a motel. But I didn't. I don't know why. Something made me stay. That night, I locked my bedroom door, put a chair under the handle, laid in bed with a bat in one hand, phone in the other. I must have drifted off. I woke up to the sound of the chair sliding across the floor, very slowly, like someone was trying not to wake me. My eyes shot open. The room was dark, too dark, and then I heard breathing, just behind the door. Not heavy, not human, raspy, wet, wrong. I whispered, "Who's there?" Silence. Then 3 knocks, right on the door. I screamed. I yelled. Nothing. Eventually, it just stopped. The next morning, I made one last decision. I went back to the guest room. I stood in front of the closet. It was half open, dark inside, colder than the rest of the house. I reached in. There was nothing. No trapdoor, no animals, no person, but scratched into the inside wall, something I'd never seen before. A word, burned deep into the wood. 6 letters. Return. That was it. I packed my things, left the house that day, never came back. I sold the property, didn't tell the buyer what happened. Legally, I didn't have to, but sometimes I think about it. What if it's still in there? What if it was never in the room? But is the room? You think I'm crazy, don't you? Maybe I am. But if you ever wake up to banging in your house, from a room that should be empty, don't open the door. And whatever you do, don't look in the closet.
Before we move on to the next story, if you like true scary stories, please subscribe to Storyteller and click the bell icon for more creepy tales every week.
Have you ever looked at your TV and felt like it was looking back at you? Like it wasn't showing you something, it was recording something? That happened to me. It wasn't a prank. It wasn't a glitch. It was real, and it was watching me from inside my own house. My name's Darren. I live or lived in a fully automated smart home in northern Alberta. Everything was synced. Lights, locks, thermostat, my fridge, even the damn coffee maker. I work in cybersecurity. I built most of it myself. And if you'd asked me back in 2020 if I felt safe in my own home, I'd have laughed. It was my fortress. But all it took was one night, one screen, to show me just how wrong I was. It was a Friday night in November. Snow was falling outside. I was on the couch with my dog, Zeke, watching reruns. Around 11:20 p.m., I paused the show to grab a beer. That's when the TV turned itself back on. At first, I thought I'd sat on the remote, but it wasn't on the couch. It was on the kitchen counter 10 feet away. I walked back, kind of annoyed, and picked up the remote. Nothing worked. Volume buttons, power, input, nothing. The screen was showing nothing but static. Not your usual fuzzy screen. It was too quiet, like the sound had been sucked out, like the static was just listening. Then the screen flickered. Quick, sharp flash. And suddenly, I was looking at my own living room from a different angle. I froze. The image on the screen wasn't from my TV. It was from a camera. It showed me sitting on the couch, or it would have if I was still there. It was angled from above and behind, like from a high shelf or a corner of the ceiling. The kind of shot you see in a movie when the killer's watching you from the rafters. But here's the thing. There were no cameras in that room. Not that angle. Not anywhere near it. I stared at the screen, watched it show my empty couch. Zeke walked into frame, tail wagging, looked around. Then suddenly the feed glitched. It skipped, like a VHS being fast-forwarded. Except I wasn't recording anything. Then it cut to black. My heart was racing. I yanked the TV plug from the wall, took out my phone, checked the cameras I did have, one at the front door, one in the hallway. No alerts, no motion, nothing. I told myself it was a bug, some kind of feedback loop. Maybe a neighbor's signal somehow got into mine. I ran a network check. Nothing weird. I tried to shake it off. But that night, at exactly 2:44 a.m., Zeke started barking. Not just barking, growling. He stood at the bedroom door, first standing up, growl so low it vibrated my mattress. Then my phone lit up. Motion detected. Living room. I opened the app. The feed said loading, loading, loading. Then it crashed. And I swear to you, just for a split second, before it blinked out, I saw a shape, a tall shape, right where I'd been sitting earlier that night. The next morning, I brought in a technician, a friend of mine, someone I trusted. We ran a deep diagnostic, checked the router logs, packet history, traffic reports. Everything looked clean, too clean. But then we found it. A single device had connected to my network. Briefly, at 2:44 a.m., pinged once, then vanished. No IP trace, no MAC address we could ID. Nothing. It was like a ghost. But here's the part that really got to me. The signal didn't come from outside the house. It originated from inside. I tore the place apart, checked the attic, the crawl space, opened every panel, every vent. Nothing. But that night, something new happened. At 2:44 a.m. again, I woke up to the sound of static. I didn't have a TV in the bedroom, but the sound was there, loud, crackling. I grabbed my phone. It was dead, fully charged when I went to bed. Now 0%. Zeke was whimpering, and then the lights flickered, just once, but long enough for me to see it. A figure standing at the end of the hallway. I didn't sleep, didn't move, just stared at the hallway until sunrise. When daylight came, I installed a full-spectrum motion detector system, heat sensors, air quality monitors, every corner of the house. For days, nothing happened. The TV stayed off. The devices stayed clean. But on the seventh night, at 2:44 a.m., every sensor went off. Movement, temperature drop, 15 degrees. Air composition changed, like something had displaced a massive amount of air. And the TV, still unplugged, but it turned itself back on. The screen didn't show static this time. It showed text, simple, white on black. We see you. Then another message appeared. You invited US. I wanted to scream, but my voice wouldn't come out. Zeke barked and ran out of the room. The screen went black. And then, the third message. We remember your name. That was it. I left that night. Never went back. I sold the house within a month. Didn't tell the buyer the full truth, only that the system had some glitches. But I still wonder what connected to my network that night. Was it some kind of intelligent malware, a hacker, or something else? And how did it know my name? I've spent years building secure systems, encrypting every part of my life, but I never thought the breach would come from inside my own home, from something watching, waiting, studying. If you have a smart home, ask yourself, do you really know what's connected? Do you really know who's watching? Or more importantly, do you know if something's watching right now?